Hey there, class. Welcome to the start of Unit 4. It is Monday, the 17th of February. Believe it or not, we are halfway through the month of February. We are over halfway through the month of February. Crazy to think about, but that is our current reality. I hope you're having a good Monday, good week so far. Hey, just a couple of things as we kind of think about where we've been. So let's kind of rear view mirror a little bit, kind of look in the back and go, okay, so where have we been? What's behind us? And we've had quite a bit going on. We've had our first 6 weeks of the term. Okay, so we've units 1, 2, and 3 are behind us. We've had some good learning curves, some great conversations. I think some great reading. You've taken the well-being index to find out kind of where you are from a well-being standpoint. You've written a response paper on that. You have done case studies 1 through 3 so far. Exercise 1, you did your first lip tech 3, 2, 1 response last week, and then of course your discussions based on the Schwen and Bass reading. So we've done a lot, and I hope that you kind of feel that you've accomplished a good amount of kind of assignments, of completion, of content so far in the first 6 weeks of this term. So now here we continue on, and we're into Unit 4. So by the time we're done with this unit, we will officially be halfway through the course, which that's just, I told you it's going to go fast, and here it is. It's going incredibly fast. Probably, if you're anything like me, you think, how did we get here? How did it go this fast? And yet, it happens every single semester I teach this class. We always think I'm going to have more time, and then before you know it, we're halfway through, and then before you know it, it's over. So we've had some great content. Let me say a couple of things, some high-level kind of responses, some good feedback for you. I am hearing from some folks, and you're realizing that these points add up quickly. So, you think 2 points here, 3 points here, maybe a point here or there, I'm not going to do this, I missed this deadline, and so forth, but the points add up. And you think about the grade that you need to, be on your transcripts for the what is it called? The board certification for LMFT. You think about the grades you need for graduation and all that. So if you have kind of maybe fallen a little bit behind, I want to encourage you to make sure that from here on out you do absolutely everything that is due, and you do it to the best of your ability. If you have missed assignments, they are late, they have not been submitted. Again, as I've mentioned before, I can't take those assignments because I have a hard and fast policy, and it wouldn't be right and fair if I accepted them from you and I didn't from others at some point for various reasons. And so that's just, unfortunately, that's the policy that I have, and I'm going to have to stick to that. So, but we have, the good news is we have a long semester still ahead of us. We have finished 6 weeks, which means we have 12 more to go, or I guess 10 more to go. And so we have a lot more assignments. And the beauty is that we have our final 2 assignments, which is probably the biggest kind of in one lump sum, if you will, assignment point total that we have in the whole semester. So that's both a plus and a minus, right? The blessing and the curse, in that we have a lot of points still to come, and yet you want to make sure that you perform as well as you possibly can on those final assignments, because that's going to be a significant portion of the final grade as part of this class. So if you have specific questions, some of you have reached out. If I haven't gotten back to you, I will. If you have specific questions that you're just kind of thinking about, you're like, oh no, I didn't do this or that, you just want to kind of inquire, please feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to have a conversation and kind of hear things out. But as I mentioned, I do kind of have this blanket policy, and maybe there's some extenuating circumstances. We can talk through those. I'd love to hear from you and make sure that I am providing the best possible support that I can, of course, within reason and what's acceptable. All right, so here we go. Like I said, Unit 4, and we are jumping in. I'm excited about this unit for a number of reasons. I'm going to, again, look over on this screen because that's where the content is. I'm excited about this exercise. I hope that you enjoyed the first exercise that you had to go through to kind of think through some things. So in the second one, we're doing much of the same. One of the comments that was made, and I think I hit on this question, is why is it, maybe it's even, maybe one that I didn't respond to, I can't recall, everything kind of blurs together in these days, but why don't we take this class sooner, was one of the questions that I remember reading. And I think it's a good question. I think the reality is, though, this isn't necessarily a class that's being completed for, as I mentioned in my video last week, for your personal development and enhancement, right? This is not for you to kind of think about, what do I want to do for a career? It is really set up in a way to inform you, to train you, to teach you, to equip you to go out and do this for other people. What I have attempted to do in building this class is to have it have that element, much like I think the rest of your very practical program is doing, is to set it up in such a way that it causes you to have to think through things personally so that you can then go on and do similar, if not identical, things with your clients. So here we are in this class, and I am in this current unit with exercise 2, I'm asking you to think through, what does your future look like? Okay, so what's your long-term goal? And this is, again, not questions that I've come up with. It's based on the Tang book, but I think it's very helpful, and I think it's very insightful, and it's very purposeful, right? There's great intention behind this. What's your long-term goal? What is your 5-year goal? What's your 1-year goal? I want to be blank because I'm interested in blank, and I value blank, and this career choice will allow me to blank, and I need to do blank so that I can become blank, right? I'm reading this great book right now. I'll show it to you. Maybe some of you have seen it. It's called Atomic Habits. Really interesting book, written by James Clear, on how little tiny things make a huge difference. That 1% change ends up, if you go 1% off over the course of a year, it veers you off significantly, right? I think it said if you're flying an airplane and you're trying to land, whether it was DC or New York, one of the two, if you go off 1%, you end up at the other airport. So that's significant in the long run, right? Same thing with our personal habits. What are the things that we're doing, right? Everybody has goals. I think we all make goals, or we say goals, or we have these New Year's resolutions. But goals aren't the issue the author talks about. What he talks about in the text is it's the process or the systems that help us to accomplish our goals. So it's great for me to say, I want to lose weight. It's great for me to say, I want to read more. It's great for me to say, I want to eat healthy. But what are the systems and the processes and the procedures that are in place that are helping me to do that? I want to lose weight, which means I'm going to exercise. And I'm not just saying I'm going to exercise, but what am I specifically going to do? I'm going to wake up early 3 days a week. I'm going to do an hour of this. I'm going to run for an hour. I'm going to walk more, whatever. I need to be specific. And so as we think about where we're headed in our future, one of the things that the author is talking about, this James Clear character, what he's talking about is we need to specifically write things down. So for you to say, here's my long-term goal. You may have thought it, but have you actually ever said it? Now, a number of you put your dream goal was to end up working in this industry, right, this field. You want to be a counselor, right? But that's long-term. Like I was talking to a colleague just before he left for the day earlier this afternoon. And one of the things that he was saying is he had a chance to meet with somebody over the weekend, and he said, my goal long-term is to have the person with whom I met, is to have that person's job. Oh, okay. He knows that he's not going to have that person's job right off the bat. But eventually, as he continues on through the trajectory of his career, he will be in a place where he will then be qualified for that position, right? So your long-term goal, I think, is good. Well, then let's think about what do you want to do in 5 years? What do you want to do in 1 year? And you kind of work your way back from there, right? So super important for you to kind of write these things out. And then to even say, I want to be fill in the blank. And why do you want to be that? I want to be that because I want to become this. And then there's an opportunity to write out what your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, right? So resources for achieving my goals, whether it's people or it's books or it's different resources online, but these are things that I'm going to do to achieve my goal, right? And so then, and I'm not saying you're not going to end up where you want to be, but I do think it's really important that we have these alternative opportunities or options or ideas to think through that deal with the alternative short-range plan, okay? So let's say you graduate with your degree and you were in a situation where you thought you might be able to work without needing to draw a significant salary, right? So maybe you thought some money was going to be inherited, or maybe it was a relational, something like that, right? So something changes, and you know still long-term my goal is this, but I don't know that I'm going to actually be able to do that upon graduation. Do you have any short-term alternative options? Something to think about. And then the time needed to enter this career alternative. So some of you are like, whoa, I just finished a degree program, I'm not doing it again. But I think, again, things to think about. And again, I'm not trying to disrupt, I'm not trying to discourage. I'm trying just to help us think realistically and pragmatically about where it is that you're headed in the future. Because these are the conversations that I'm having when I'm meeting with clients. I'm having these exact conversations. And the conversations, it's not just the exact kind of questions, I'm actually using content like this exercise that I'll be giving to you. And so as you think about that personally, how can you then turn it around and use it professionally to help your clients with a lot of these same questions? All right. So we've got that exercise. We have our lip tack 3, 2, 1. And again, remember that in that 3, 2, 1, it's 3 kind of ahas or takeaways or things that stood out to you that are in the reading from lip tack specifically. Okay. These are shorter chapters, but it's jam-packed with content, super helpful and insightful. 3 things that stood out, 2 questions that come from that reading, okay? And it has to be 2 separate questions. The way I want you to lay out, some of you kind of just put it all in one kind of fell swoop, one paragraph. I want you to have sections, okay? One section is 3 takeaways. One section is 2 questions, and then one section is going to be 1 actionable item, something you could literally do tomorrow if you were given an opportunity to do that, okay? So lip tack 3, 2, 1. The second one is happening in this unit. That's due at the end of this first week, so Sunday night is due, so I can then turn around and answer your questions in the following week. The second exercise, case study number 4, and then, of course, your Schwen and Bass entry and discussion. Now, remember, in this discussion, there's been some great comments made, so thank you for that. I've loved kind of working through and seeing the conversation, the discussions, and some of the things like, I want to comment on this little part right here. You said this, and I love how you said that. Thank you for that. What do you think about this? Or how do you feel about this? And then you kind of had this exchange back, which I really, really appreciated. So thank you for that. I want to see these thorough, okay? And so when you're citing people or you're referencing people, make sure you cite them. This is not just an opinion like, oh, I really like what you said. No, I want you to actually have an engaged discussion based upon the reading, even when you're responding to your classmates, okay? And I want your... again, refer to the syllabus, but I want your initial response to be substantive. There has to be some significant substance to what you've said. Length, content, and so forth. Be thorough, be thoughtful, and so forth. And then you have to respond to your classmates, okay? I've been a bit lenient in how I've graded some of these so far this semester. From here on out, I'm going to hold these under a much closer microscope to make sure that you're actually doing what I'm asking you to do, okay? So really thorough in your initial response. Make sure you provide citations, it's APA, and the whole 9 yards. Then you're going to respond to 2 of your classmates on their posts, okay? And it's vital that you don't just give me opinion. I really like what you said. I feel that you were right. I believe, no. Actually engage, right? If we were to be in discussion in class, there would actually be, well, actually, the author said this. What do you think about that? Or, we were reading this other book and the author said this. Or, you remember in that other class, the author said this, and then it's the back and forth, right? So really engage, really be thoughtful in those responses, okay? And I love the additional articles. I hope you're reading them. They're very insightful. They're there very intentionally to help you kind of think through the content. There's one in particular that we have this unit titled Why You Should Stop Trying to Achieve Work-Life Balance. And I've never had this as an exercise, but it's interesting to think about the time that we spend doing everything we do on a weekly basis, right? So the gym that I was a part of for the last little less than a year, their encouragement was to sleep for at least 50 hours a week. Okay, so that's 7 hours and 8 minutes or so per night. Okay. So let's just call it 7 hours, 24 hours, 7 hours. You start to subtract this, right? So if you commute, you have your drive time. If you have your work time, you have your 8-9 hours of work. Let's say it's 9 hours with an hour lunch break. You got an hour commute on either side. So now all of a sudden that 8-hour workday turns into an 11-hour workday. I've got my 7 hours of sleep. There's 18. So then there's 6 hours. It's getting ready. It's, eating breakfast and dinner. And, whatever it is, maybe reading a book. So this idea of work-life balance really isn't a thing. It's more of an idea of work-life integration. And so we'll unpack that more, but I want you to start thinking about it. I'm just going to kind of plant the seed there for you to think about as you start to discuss and think about, based on Schwen and Bass, and why do we work, even from last unit, day's content, the writing, all these great content pieces to help us kind of rethink how we view and think about the work that we do on a regular basis. So you're doing a great job. I appreciate your input, your contributions. Make sure that you're being thorough, thoughtful, and engaging with your classmates and make sure that you're adhering to and following exactly what's in the syllabus. I will have your your first papers graded and back to you pretty soon. Everything other than that should be fully updated. Hope you have a great unit, and I look forward to seeing you online.